Hey guys, it is Old Man G here, back again with another Red Devil Studio live podcast. I'm joined again by Transfer Tom, by Josh, JD, and Shawnee, and we have a lot to talk about today. So if you're new to the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter, United X, and smash that notification button for latest, not only United, but general football news. But first and foremost, how is everyone doing, by the way?
Good. Very well, thank you, G.
Good.
How are you, bro?
Yourself?
Well, fine. I mean, United. We obviously know what happened with United against Sevilla. That was painful yesterday. I'm not going to lie. But we move on. We move on. We move on. But I am interested to talk. I think we've got a lot of key topics. Hi, Chris Mateague in the comments. Hi, mate. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Basically, we've got a lot to talk about on the stream. We're going to be talking about whether Pep Guardiola is finished as City coach. Can he actually take City any further? Reflecting on the Lyon result. We're going to then go and talk about Messi and the ongoing Barcelona crisis. Obviously, breaking news that Ronald Koeman looks like he's going to be taking over at Barcelona, but will that actually make a difference? Follow that, we're going to be talking about the Premier League. Is it overrated, given the fact that so many English teams have performed so poorly in Europe this season? Is it an overrated league? And then, following that, we're going to wrap up with doing a brief Champions League preview. But what I'm going to do is just going to mute everyone's sort of mic and go individually so that everyone can obviously hear each other, and then we'll get straight into it. So first and foremost, let's get who I call fraudiola. This man. I think, and I'll start this off here, guys. Pep Guardiola is a good manager. I'm not going to be here to say that we should diminish Pep Guardiola's achievements, or say he's overrated or hyped, etc. However, it can't be denied that this guy seems to overthink everything, and he took over City some 4 years back. Despite hundreds of millions of pounds, he is yet to get this City team to progress beyond the quarterfinal stage. And if these were against big, dominant teams, then I wouldn't have a problem. But this is against Monaco, Liverpool. Okay, fair enough. Liverpool are probably really, really good in that year. Spurs, and now Lyon. 7th place in League 1, Lyon. Lyon haven't even qualified for the Europa League next season, and they knocked out Man City. So I'm going to just throw it in there, guys. Like, do you guys think that, like, can Pep, is it a mental block? What is it? Because City were a firm favourite to win this game, and yet they're not in the CL anymore. What has gone wrong for City? What has gone on for Pep? And will there be any difference next season? I'm going to start with Tom. Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head, really, with most of the points there. You know, when we classify Pep Guardiola as the best manager in the world, if not then one of the top managers in the world, should we say. He's in that elite bracket, but recently he's not really had that much to show about. I know he obviously won the double Premier League titles back to back, but Manchester City could have stuck with Manuel Pellegrini and won Premier League titles because he went and won the Premier League title at Man City. They wanted the next step up, should we say, and that was go and win the Champions League. And the way you do that is you get the best manager out there, you get the best coach out there, which at the time for Manchester City was Pep Guardiola. I don't dislike anything Pep Guardiola does, but like you said, he's an overthinker. He's gone into this game and he's thought he's got 5 answers when really he's got about 10. He doesn't need to have 10 answers. He only needs to have like a couple. Like if plan A doesn't work, you opt to plan B. Plan B doesn't work, you opt to plan C. He's probably got a plan X, Z probably, because he overthinks it that much. And I think it does show his passion for the sport if you're overthinking things. But I don't get why you change your side's formation. The formation that's got you this far in the competition, and you've had 100% success with against teams such as Real Madrid, you change it for this one game. I don't get that because your team play one formation. Manchester City only play one formation. They're not like any of these other teams in Europe. Real Madrid can switch to different formations and everything and different patterns of play. Guardiola has stuck with pretty much the same formation, maybe switched some positions about for most of his career. He's played the same formation at Barcelona and he won Champions Leagues. So I don't necessarily get why he changes this now. Why he changes this now? And I think, like you said, it must be a mental thing because if Pep Guardiola was probably the manager of Bayern Munich or something, I don't think Bayern Munich would have been stuck at the quarter-final stage. They would have had the quality to get through that stage. And I don't necessarily think it's the players because on that field, they've got some of the best players in the world when they're fully fit and everything. Aguero's a top striker. De Bruyne, Laporte's a top defender. Edison's a top goalkeeper. So it's not a case of it's the players or it's the manager. It's just in the head mentally because, for the last 2 years, we haven't got beyond this point. But I think that's down to the manager because he needs to motivate his players to get beyond that point. And if you don't motivate your players positively or don't motivate them enough, then they're going to make these slip-ups. And that's why they've not challenged in such as the Premier League this year. Not been motivated enough. And people are saying about he's been found out and everything. But I don't really get what people mean by Pep Guardiola was found out because he had some poor results. He lost to poor sides. And it ultimately cost him on the Premier League run-in to try and get to the Premier League title again. But you've got to think this side has been pretty much at it non-stop for 2 years. And they went and won 2 Premier Leagues. And it's keeping that consistency. And I'll make a comment on it. Liverpool have done that for the past 2 years. That's why they've gone and won the Champions League the following season and they've won the Premier League this season. Because they've kept up that consistency. And it's, can you keep it up for a 3rd year, then a 4th year, and then you start getting into being a great team. But if you don't balance it out enough, then, your team might not make it in the end. And I think that's what Guardiola's at. He's at the phase of a lot of these players are aging and he needs to get fresher faces in. He's noticing that such as Otamendi, defence is aging. Stones isn't the best of players. So he's bought Nathan Ake. Sané lifting the summer. He's going to bought Ferran Torres to replace him. He's still questions over Gabriel Jesus possibly replacing Aguero long term. At some point, De Bruyne will either want to leave or he's going to be aging. They've brought in Rodri to replace Fernandinho. So I think it's just a case of he needs to get his team over the line. Like we said with Man United, say, getting over the line in the top 4 race. They need to get off that line of the quarterfinals. And Pep Guardiola's not a dumb person. He's not a thick person. He knows how to get these teams over the line. It's just a case of him as the manager needs to stop overthinking things and stop. Well, I shouldn't say plan ahead, but plan beforehand. You've planned. There's a case of you can plan enough, but there's a case you can plan too much, and that's the problem with Pep. He's a worrier. He worries because so if Laporte's out, who am I going to play there? I'm going to have to chuck Stones in. I don't really want to do that. Yeah. So I think it's just a case of he's got to motivate the team more and just refresh the play. Well, not I wouldn't say the players, the club really, because a lot of the players are aging. You're trying to replace them, but you need more, and you stop overthinking things. And if it does that, trust me, it'll probably get to maybe the semi-final, maybe even the final next year with them.
Fair
it's
enough.
Just the mental block.
Fair enough, Tom. So there's just a few comments coming in, so I just need to quickly just go through some of them. Hala Madrid hashtag Perez out. Really? Okay. Pep 11 was bad, but is it Pep's fault? Sterling missed an open goal, and he has clowns like Laporte in defense, Edison in goal making mistakes. That's a fair point. You can't count for those mistakes, just like Oli couldn't count for the mistakes the defense made. But my only argument would be that Pep Guardiola is the one that chose the team. Why do you have to play?
Yeah, exactly. It's the manager's decision.
3 holding midfielders in Rodri and Fernandinho. You know, 2 holding midfielders, 3 potentially against Lyon. Sport Gossip says Man City bought Pep to make them the biggest club in Manchester and to win more PL trophies than Sir Alex, but he'll fail. I don't think, no matter how long, he's not going to win as many trophies as Sir Alex. I don't think that's never going to happen. Rich says talk about Thiago to Liverpool. Nope. Sleeve defense cost him EPL titles, FA Cup, and place in UCL semi. True. Rodney says a low finish is harsh. Yeah, I mean it's to get people to tune in. Can we talk about Edison not really being that guy? Okay, we will talk about that. I think that's reasonable. And Rodney again says, I was arguing with my friend last week that Keylor Navas is better than Edison. I was like that. Well, to be fair, Keylor Navas has 4 Champions Leagues, 3, so he can't be that bad, can he? You know, can't be. JD, what are your thoughts on Pep Guardiola being finished in quotes?
First, I have to start here. Thanks for everyone that brought me on the channel. So yes, thanks for being here. My answer is a no. And the reason why, I think if you look at his track record, the first thing I would say, because I you know, I'm always checking everything and calculating everything. I think he just has an anxiety problem. And why I said so is every time he comes up against the same team, he seems to try his best not to face this, try to play the same formation. So look at it. He played Lyon twice and he failed to defeat them. So that's why right before he played a trick, because his lineup started in this one was a 4-3-3 system with KD playing out at the right wing. And then he switched it back in right before the start of the game to a 3-5-2 system. So it was just to make confusion, but it just didn't work out. But I'm saying if you got success in the Real Madrid match playing Phil Foden out at the right wing in the 4-3-3 system, why not just stay with it? That's why I would say he has an anxiety issue. But overall, if you look at his trophy tally, you can't say he's a failure, because last season he won everything in England. So maybe that if he's a failure, that means it's going to lead back to your third question: is the Premier League overrated then? Because he won everything last season. So it can't be a yes for him, and yet still the Premier League is not overrated. You understand? So that's why I would say it's not a no. Yeah, but overall, the performance from the team, I thought it was just complacency and too much hyped up individuals that they think that if they do turn on an 8% performance, maybe that will be good enough to just blast out Lyon. And when they went on the pitch, they realized it's not so. You understand me? You have to come with more effort. And the only player on that pitch tried was KDB. Hands down, that's it. You understand me? So that's why they lost. And they still could have gotten it back if Sterling scored that goal. Because if Sterling scored that goal, Dembele wouldn't have the ball to score. Because remember, it was on him. He missed the shot, and then the counter-attack, Dembele scored on it. So he wouldn't have the chance to score. So definitely, it was a tight margin. So you can't blame Pep 100%, but you have to give him 50% of the blame, because he was the one set the squad up. But you have some poor performers in, as you said, Edison before. I wouldn't say Laporte was poor, because he's the one marshalling the back line. And if you play football at any high level, you know that the one that's marshalling the back line can't really be blamed. He's the one setting up the plays. It's just the others to follow him. And most of the time, he steps up, but Garcia is too young and inexperienced. That's why he didn't step up with him. And then he caught out. It wasn't Laporte's fault at no time. It was just those guys caught lacking. You can't blame the guy that is setting the play. So, but maybe I'm just looking at the game different than other individuals that are just watching football rather than analyzing it. So it's completely different. But that's why I said no.
Fair enough, JD. Jenny, Shawnee, what are your thoughts? Do you think Pep Guardiola is struggling here?
Yeah, like first of all, it was just nice to see a game where another team like Lyon kind of met City at their strongest points. So like I always admired that right hand side where Walker is, and De Bruyne, he drifts into that space as well, helping the right out, to get them crosses in and to trouble teams from that right hand side. But because Lyon chucked in an extra centre back, it made things a little more difficult. And it's quite right what JD said just there. So you had Lyon, obviously. They ended up with they were playing with 5 in midfield, and it didn't really bother City too much at first, and they came through relatively fine because of their 3 centre backs. But in that area, I felt City actually had the better chances, but yeah, just like it was just great to see Lyon meet in City at City's greatest strength and kind of getting the better of them in some situations, because like I say, they had that extra centre back there, which allowed their left back to sort of push forward a little bit and push Walker back. And I haven't really seen that much, to be completely honest, but it really, really worked. So it was quite fun. It was quite fun to watch, for me anyway. I don't know if Guardiola got it wrong. Yeah, I do think
you got it wrong, Tony. You must have got it wrong, surely.
Yeah, I think only when Mahrez came on though, and everything went really narrow, because when they were out wide and they got Sterling on the ball to run down the wing for the cutback, they were actually getting really good chances, and they were doing quite well at that. Mahrez came on and everything went a lot narrower, and it made everything easier for the Lyon defense, I think, and generally for the Lyon midfield, because they had the midfield flooded, and when things got narrow, when Mahrez came on, everything became a lot more difficult. But yeah, so maybe that tactical change wasn't. I don't really know what the thinking behind that is. If it was working, which by the way, that's how their goal came, was from the cutback. So like the initial tactic was working. And it was relatively, like I say, I felt like City at that stage when they were using that tactic had the better of Lyon. But then they started playing narrow, and Lyon found it quite easy to control the game from there onwards. Like I say, they had that extra centre back as well, which really helped out a lot, especially because it played to their strength once City started playing narrow. So. Yeah, it was good because, like I say, it was a learning curve for, I think, every Premiership team. It was just tactically great by Lyon, I felt. Which is my next point. I just want to say that didn't Lyon play well? Like I thought, I thought, it's not like that they were. They didn't look like a French team. I mean, they're coming from the Farmers League, but yeah, I felt the way they played against City, they knew what they were doing. It wasn't just a fluke.
Sorry to interrupt you, Sean. Nicosa actually has a good point here, and maybe you can give my thoughts on this. I also think Dembele fouled Laporte in the second goal, and he scored the goal.
I don't know how that was picked up.
So you think that was a foul? Definitely.
I mean, yeah. If I always feel if there's a shove from an elbow. Is that the one that he's talking about when he was shoved, when there was the elbow shove?
No, I think it's like, I think it's the second goal where like they're being counterattacked, and like the VAR checks it and it looks like he's trod on his foot, and it looks good, that one. So and it didn't call it, and then they obviously then went on.
They basically said it was when they went
have to go back
the VAR referee. They said it was accidental contact, so they said that's why they didn't give it.
Okay.
That was basically it. Yes, they said accidental contact. That's why they didn't give it.
Okay.
I bet Laporte didn't think it was accidental.
Yeah, I mean he was crying on Twitter, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
he's a man. So I don't know, but yeah, go on. Generally, yeah. Just to finish my point, generally I thought Lyon played really, really well. Like I say, it's great for Premiership teams to watch. How an extra centre back in against City really helps reduce the amount they can do on that right wing, because generally, De Bruyne found it very, very tough, I think, and it was just because they had the license to allow one of their defenders to kind of push down the runs Walker was making. And you saw Walker make a lot of passes cross field, into mid, back to the defense, because he had nowhere to pass. So like it was strange to watch City broken down like that, but it kind of worked, and I just think it was just good from Lyon. They definitely didn't look like a Farmers League team. They definitely stepped up their game, and quite rightly so, because obviously in this competition you need to put on your absolute elite performance if you want to get through and make it to the next stage. And even though at first I thought City did a really good job because they were creating good chances, I felt. I don't know why the change with Mahrez came in, especially if they, were having good chances. I don't know. That's obviously up for you guys to decide as well. But I felt Lyon did really, really well to suppress City there and make City look like a Farmers League team rather than them being the Farmers League team themselves.
Fair enough. It's good. I think that's good. Sports Gossip says Sterling always tends to miss City, even FA Cups and finally missed ahead of chances. But I would say that he was probably still one of City's best players before that miss. Offside has just joined us. Offside. What are your thoughts on Pep Guardiola? Do you think he's finished? Do you think this is just going to be a recurring problem for him at City? What's going on?
Yeah, hi guys. Well, with Pep Guardiola, I feel like how they say everything in life comes in a cycle. I feel like he has gotten to the point where he may need to take the back seat. There was a time where certain managers were at the rave of the moment. There was a time Jose Mourinho had his time, I beg your pardon, and was at the top of his game for a period of years. I feel like Pep Guardiola is currently at that cycle. Empires rise and fall, and I'm not exactly saying he has fallen to the ground, but he is not what we saw Pep Guardiola as when he was at Barcelona. Notwithstanding the fact that personally I believe that he has always been overhyped. In my honest opinion, I feel he has always been overhyped. Yes, his success at Barcelona was remarkable, but most of it was due to the kind of players Barcelona had at the time. The backbone of Xavi, Iniesta, and even Lionel Messi. If you remember, that period was when Spain as a national team was very dominant, winning the Euros, winning the World Cup. That period of 4 years was also when Barcelona was dominant. Right? Now, credit to him, good and fine. That expectation, that standard, is what he has struggled to live up to from when he was at Bayern and Manchester City. So I think when he got to Manchester City, right, there was this reputation that preceded him. So it seems like certain teams kind of feared him, and fine, good and fine. He did well. His teams did well, won the title, won domestic trebles and all that. But I think as at last season, he started losing more often than he's used to losing, right? And I feel like he got to a point going into this season, he started panicking. If you notice some of his starting lineups, dropping certain players, and starting certain players in certain positions, it makes you wonder what exactly is he doing. And it seemed more like a panic reaction, right? The game against Lyon, for example.
Let's one offside, but just going into your point, I mean, one of the things I've noticed with sort of Pep, which is the fact that he seemed to think with his team so many times. Like, you never think with Pep, like, right, he's going to pick the same starting 11. There's always a change, So I see what you're saying. So go on.
Yeah, I understand. Maybe because Manchester City have lots of good players, and I feel like sometimes that's where a problem might come up when you have players that are so good that all of them are good enough or should be in the first starting lineup. It tends to be some sort of problem, right? And I feel like that's part of the problem he had. Okay, he goes on, he loses the game with his usual starting 11, and then he goes into the next game, he tries to make some changes. I think it was the game against Arsenal that he started without the striker. Kun Aguero was injured and he didn't even play Gabriel Jesus. the game against Lyon, he managed to drop his key creative players, Bernardo Silva, David Silva, Riyad Mahrez, and even started Cancelo on the wrong side of the defense. So it seemed like he was trying to be more reactionary. He has been overthinking things, and it affects his side. They go on losing the game, and teams gradually, as they keep losing more games, teams become more emboldened. And I feel like what he should do at this point is to take a long break from the game. But then again, what are the odds? What are the chances of him doing just that, and even coming back to be what we saw him as at Barcelona? I don't think he will ever get back to that position. As I said earlier, I feel he was actually overrated in the first place, right? And he also needs to learn how to adapt his game.
So just a quick question, just before I move on.
Yeah.
Given that, like you're saying, obviously that he's changed his formation, he's doing all these different things, and he's reacting. Is there an argument? Yes. We're saying that he's one of the best managers in the world, right? But if you're doing that all the time, reacting kind of like then clearly you don't actually have faith in the players that you have. If you have faith in the players that you have, you're not going to change. So, is Pep therefore a really good manager if he doesn't actually have faith in his players and the playing style that he professes to play? Am I making sense there?
I mean, I wouldn't say he's not a good manager because he doesn't. I mean, there's a reason why each squad is expected to be more than 11. Should have 22, 23 players, or even more than that in the whole season. The essence of that is for you to make changes when certain players are off form and stuff. So I wouldn't say that's a lack of faith. I feel like sometimes one standard can count against them. That's number one. Number two, having so many there are players that when you sign into your team, you're signing those players to be backup players, right? But Manchester City seem to have so many players that expect to be in the first 11. And even looking from the outside, you expect these guys to be in the first 11. So sometimes I feel like, as I said, he tends to overthink these things. And when you're overthinking these things, it can be a problem. Even he's a great manager. Sir Alex Ferguson, that everyone recognizes as one of the best managers that has ever managed the game. Won the championship twice in his career. He won it just twice, right? Over a period of 23 years. So I don't think it's enough to say Pep is not good. Yes, we always say, we want to see him do it in a different team. Yes, but it doesn't necessarily make him a bad coach. But as I said, he has been way overrated.
Fair enough. Yeah. Right. Okay. Is there anyone else that hasn't spoken regarding Pep Guardiola? Has everyone had their say?
You didn't ask me.
Josh. Sorry, Yasin. What's your thoughts? Pep Guardiola.
He's a fraud.
Okay. Elaborate on that.
Well.
3-0 by the way.
I completely agree with. Who was the last person speaking? Was it JD?
Offside, and then
offside.
JD.
Sorry. Because when his first managerial job was Barcelona, and he had prime Messi. He had a lot of the Spain players who just won a World Cup. And the Spain, a lot of those players were in their prime or just slightly past their prime, and inherited a brilliant squad. Of course, he's a good coach. His style of play, possession, high press. Normally plays with a false nine. Those tactics work when you have insane players. Then he went to his next managerial job, Bayern Munich. And again, he has prime Ribery, prime Robin. He has great players there. I'm not saying, obviously takes a fairly decent manager to win titles, but at the same time, if you're given the best team in the league, it would probably be harder to not win the league than to win the league if you're given the best team compared to everybody else. And then he goes, and he and at the end of the day, he didn't win the Champions League at Bayern Munich. He won the Champions League with Barcelona, but I mean, Messi carried that whole campaign. There was some other amazing players there.
Well,
then he goes to
Iniesta and Xavi and Piqué.
Iniesta, Xavi, prime Piqué. I can't remember if David Villa was there. Was David Villa there at the time?
David, I think, was then prime Busquets and prime Puyol.
Give a donkey that team and they'll win the Champions League anyway. And then Man City. So he goes to Man City, right? And he still inherits a pretty damn good team. He's got Sterling, he's got Company, not Bernardo Silva, David Silva, etc., etc. I think he signed De Bruyne, I believe. Pep signed De Bruyne. And so it's not as if we're talking as if I don't like comparing and contrasting managers, but take Klopp for example. He signs relegated Hull Robertson. He signed Virgil van Dijk, which was arguably a gamble because he was from Celtic. And he signed Kate and he signed someone else. So this team, it's not the best team, let's be honest. It's not the greatest, but look at Robertson now. He was what? How much was Robertson? 8 mil, and he's turned into arguably the best left back in the world. For me, Pep takes teams which are pretty much ready made, and of course he improves. I mean, Sterling's improved. I don't know about his finishing, but Sterling's definitely improved. But personally, if he's got money thrown at him, you have the best team in the league. It's not necessarily that hard to win domestic. You see it at PSG, you see it with Bayern Munich. They have the best team. The best teams, 9 times out of 10 win the league. When it comes to Champions League, his tactics get exposed because you're not facing people. You face. I mean, in this style, it's a one-off. Obviously, you have legs, but this time it was a one-off, and the other team was hungrier. Pep decided to change his tactics, play a system that I've not seen him play before. And for me, I always think if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it, and he tinkered. I mean, when I looked at the first 20 minutes, I saw Walker and Fernandinho switching positions, and they really didn't look like they know what they were doing. Walker was arguably at fault for the first goal. He didn't look like he knew what he was doing. Didn't hold the line. So for me, I mean, I know what he's done for the club and fair play. He's won them trophies. But if I'm a Man City player, I'm thinking we're good enough to win the Champions League. Look at our squad. And yet they haven't won it yet. They haven't even got past the quarterfinals. So yeah, I'm not saying he should get sacked, but you got to think if a decent manager. I'm not saying Pep isn't a decent manager, but if a better manager had those players, they'd at least get to the final. No, Poch got to the final with Spurs. Come on, Pep has by far the best team and the best bench in the league.
Pellegrini took Man City to the semi-final.
Semi-finals, and he had a worse team. You've got the best midfielder in the world. You've got a top 3 striker in the world. Defense is, Kyle Walker is arguably one of the best right backs in the world. It's just, it's for me, it's. I don't think you can argue that he's. I don't think he's one of the best because on the big performances on the big stages he bottles it. So yeah, great manager, but I don't know. I'd need to have a look at himself.
Fair enough. Before I move on to the next topic, Shakhtar Donetsk frauds basically. Absolutely, you can't be losing 4-0 to Inter Milan in the semi-final. So I mean, I still think Sevilla will probably win it because I think the winner of our game will win the Europa League. But Shakhtar Donetsk absolute
5-0.
5-0.
My what a goal from Lukaku.
Frauds.
You could have lost Lukaku last night, Man United fans.
We could have used Lukaku. Actually, we could have.
That's just raw power. Oh my!
He's a beast.
He's
Oh my
like,
God.
if Inter win the there'll be a lot of United fans that will be. Well, we'll see. Anyway, let's quickly move on. Let's move on. Let's talk about Barcelona, Messi in Barcelona now. Now, for those obviously on Friday, I had my mini rant about Barcelona and Messi and the badge. I think I got quite a bit of I wouldn't say abuse, but I got quite a bit of stick. Let's put it that way on Twitter from a lot of Messi fanboys. Let's put it that way. So for just sort of saying like, I don't accept someone walking away, losing the ball in midfield. I get that Messi's not supposed to track back per se, but I still don't accept someone losing the ball in midfield who's lost the ball, might add, multiple times, and you walk in the other direction. That just for me is just not. It's just not acceptable. It really, really is not acceptable, especially if you're the captain. So obviously, and I've got Koeman here because I think it's been reported, it's been breaking by Fabrizio Romano that Ronald Koeman is obviously taking over. I don't want that to distract from the fact that I think Barcelona are in a crisis right now. I don't mean that Barcelona are not going to be able to compete because, and I guess we'll go on to our next conversation, is the league and is Premier League overrated? But, and I'm round off my point here, but this has been a long coming in terms of European football. This has been a long time coming. They lost obviously 2-0. I think it was 2-0 to Atletico Madrid. Fair enough. Simeone peak. Next year 3-0 away to Juventus. Okay, fine. It's Juve strong. Then next year 3-0 away to Roma. Okay, you were up. What's going on? Next year 4-0 away to Anfield. Right, okay, that's a bit ridiculous given that Salah and Mane weren't playing. And now 8-2 to Bayern. The linking factor here is a lot of these results were actually away from the Camp Nou. So it's clear that Barcelona seem to struggle mentally when they're not playing away, when they're playing away from home. But is this team still good enough? And will someone like Ronald Koeman be able to really do anything if the same players are going to be at this football club? So let me bring on JD, because I know you have to head off to do your post match. JD, what are your thoughts on this whole crisis, Messi, etc.?
First, I think it's definitely a crisis. And once you have a crisis, I think one of the best managers to call in, it's actually Ronald Koeman. Check his track record. He was always been the guy that you called on to start the rebuild process. Maybe sometimes he didn't last, i.e. Everton, i.e. maybe Valencia and others. But he was always the one that go and rough up the club, like shake up things and make the difference, because he's a guy that don't take the BS. He will go in there and tell Messi that, okay, if you're not going to do such and such things, you're not going to play. And I'm going to play a 17-year-old kid over you, because he's delivering in training. And once I put him on the pitch, he's going to deliver also. So that's how it's going to work. And this is my system. It requires pace and energy. And looks like you don't offer none of those things. So you aren't going to play. So I think signing him is just to get rid of either Messi and Suarez, or Suarez himself. Because remember, Suarez and him have some issues. You have to remember that as well. It goes way back. So I don't think Suarez will ever play again in his system. So I think it's a good way to rebuild or start the rebuild for Barcelona. That's all I have to look at it. And we have to just wait and see. But I think he's going to shake up things. Hopefully he can get enough money back from these players that he's going to sell, and then he can buy selective, energetic young players to rebuild. Don't just go out and buy big names just for the jersey sale, because this is what damaged Barcelona, because they bought Coutinho. Listen, they bought Coutinho, and then they went and bought my guy from Atletico. if you realize, all three of those guys are all target players. They are the key players for their clubs. So they need the ball to pass through them. Coutinho and Messi are the identical players. Surprisingly, if you watch Coutinho, maybe they play different position on paper, but they play the same way, run from deep, try to get the ball to dribble. So Coutinho could never work in Messi's system. That's why they had to chuck him out at left wing when they just bought him, when he was a traditional attacking midfielder to bring the ball up and split lines. But he couldn't do. He could have did none of that under Messi. Then you have Griezmann. Griezmann is naturally an attacking midfielder or a central forward. With Messi, he has to play out of left wing. He can't touch the ball. He can't get into the game. So you just bought those guys in just as jersey sale rather than actual performance. And your club will fail if you're going to do anything like that. So I think they need to make a decision if they're going to rebuild with Messi or rebuild without him. And I think the best way to go forward, because you always know the team is always in the numbers. You have to get rid of Messi and then try and start from that point, because I love him, but that's how it goes. The team come first, because the team is what will last after him. So you have to go with selling Messi and just recoup as much money as possible and get out all of the 30+ years old as well, and just recoup as much as possible, and then build around De Jong, Dembele, and Ansu Fati. Yeah, that's my take on it. And he's the best manager to do it.
Fair enough, JD. I think that's pretty concise and summary. And I don't think I disagree, to be honest. So Nicosa Mbele says, do you guys think Koeman can succeed at Barcelona? Well, obviously, as you heard JD say, like, Koeman, I think, is the right man to do it. And I think if you look at the what he's essentially revived the entire Dutch national team, to be quite frank, that's all on him. You know, so if there's any person who also knows the Barcelona philosophy, who was obviously a student of Johan Cruyff, it's Ronald Koeman. Tom, what are your thoughts on this whole crisis at Barcelona?
Well, I think obviously when we did the reaction and you went on your rant about it and everything, I didn't really disagree with you, to be honest with you. You know, he's the captain on the team. Messi, you know, I don't know how many seasons or how many years he's been at Barcelona, but he's been around for a long time. He should know the Barcelona way of playing, you know, and that's the minimum standard is you don't give up. Whether you're 1-0 down or you're 12-0 down, you don't give up. You know, pick your son up. And the thing is, he's the captain. So if he's the way that he is, like I've just expressed now, then the whole team's going to be like that. So why is he the captain really if he's not going to motivate the team? Because he's got over 500 goals for him, and he's got, you know, all these world record goal scoring tallies and everything, and he's this mega star and Ballon d'Or winner and everything. Is that why you've got him as the captain? It doesn't matter if you've won 20 Ballon d'Ors. Yeah, you know that person still doesn't have to be the captain. The captain is selected by the manager. And it wouldn't surprise me if Ronald Koeman changed that. As in, you know, what JD's just expressed there about that, you know, ruthlessness, and he's the man who can actually rebuild this team or at least start the process of it. And players like Messi can deal with players like Messi. You know, you look at the Dutch national team, he's dealt with players like Van Dijk, you know, all the, you know, Depay, Wijnaldum, you know, all these quality players, he dealt with them. You know, you drop him below standard for your country, step it up, or you can sit on the sidelines, because he's done it at such as Everton. You know, players aren't playing properly. Right, you can have a game on bench then. You know, and I think it's a case of, you know, he might strip Messi of the captaincy. Wouldn't surprise me of it, because, you know, when you're dropping below the standard of that, and you've just said, you know, being a student of obviously Johan Cruyff, you know, that's a major person in their whole legacy and history as a club, Johan Cruyff. He's been like the main man at Barcelona. And obviously Koeman's won such as the Champions League for Barcelona. So he's played in these big nights and these big occasions and everything. So he must know how Messi's feeling. But, you know, you're dropping below the minimum work ethic. And that's a problem. That's fundamentally wrong. And I said it obviously when we spoke about it last time, you know, about Barcelona need to rebuild. There's too many aging players. And Gerard Piqué, for me, hit the nail on the head. And I respect him for it. If he was, say, a Manchester United player or he was anybody else's player, I'm sure a lot of people would respect him for what he said. If I have to go because of my age and I've reached my limit at this club with the next manager that comes in, I will accept that. And that shows that he's got full commitment to the club. And that's what I mean. That's the sort of players that are die hard for your club. Yeah, they might not show it on one or on the odd occasion in a football match, but fundamentally, he proved everybody right because it was quite clear there was something wrong. And it wasn't just on the football pitch. It was upstairs, and obviously they're making reshuffles about. There's talk about the president might be on his way. The director of football's gone, and Kike Settin's been sacked today. Confirmed in official. And, the main names that obviously a lot of people were saying Pochettino, and I said Allegri and everything. I thought out of both of them, Allegri would have been a name that would have gone. That haven't been mentioned. And that's because Barcelona stick with a system of, we want somebody who actually knows the standards of this football club. Ronald Koeman ticks all the boxes. And he's talked in the past about it's his dream to manage Barcelona. That's positive signs there. You've got a manager that actually appreciates your football club, has played for your football club, and actually knows everything at your football club. So I think that's a major point in its own right. But I just think that people were saying about, Koeman, Koeman is not even going to last a year or anything. I think what Barcelona need to do is they need to give the manager time. And I don't think I've Ernesto Valverde time, but he didn't necessarily get it right. But because there's all these changes now, there's probably going to be a new director of football, maybe a president, and there's a new manager now. So there's a lot of new things. It's not a case of you give it 6 to 12 months and then, it's not working, we'll bob off in another direction. Stick with a process and trust the process. That's the problem at Barcelona. They haven't stuck with a process since Guardiola left. That's been the problem. And you need to stick with a manager. Right, when you appoint a manager, he's the right manager for this football club. That's what every owner, technical director says. Right, well, you back him in the market, you back him on the football field, and if times get tough and you might not be having the best of runs, or you might have lost 3 games or 4 games on trot, you stick with him. And you come out to the world. You don't do it behind, closed doors. You can't sort of say, no, we're sticking with the manager, regardless of the results. This is the guy we've chosen, and this is the guy that's going to take us forward. You need to have faith. And if you don't have faith, you're finished. That's the main key to it all. You're finished. And we've obviously talked about Eric Abdallah. I can't pronounce his last name if I butchered that.
Abidal, I think it was, yeah.
Abidal, yeah. Obviously we said about him and everything. And has he been one of the main problems? I think it's really been most people upstairs. I wouldn't really blame most of the managers that have been there because Pep Guardiola obviously went there and was a success. They've had successful years. Yeah, they might not win the Champions League one year, but they've still gone and won the Spanish League or the Spanish Cup. The problem with Kike Setien was he didn't win anything. Didn't win the Spanish Cup, didn't win the Spanish League, didn't win the Champions League. And at a club like Barcelona, you've got to at least win something. Even if it's, the Spanish version of the Community Shield. You at least win something.
Or at least compete.
At least compete. Maybe even get to the final or something. That's a stepping stone. But there isn't anything there.
Yeah, Johnny.
I was going to say it's a nice sentence. What Tom said there. You got to have faith because it wasn't too long ago when I was defending Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If you remember, there was a few podcasts where the main title was sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer ? So like
last night, I'm still that's not completely gone. But
you guys have had a great season, considering where you guys were. You guys have had a good season, finishing Champions League.
I agree. Yeah.
I once again keeping the faith is key. Quite right, what Tom said there. But I did interrupt, so continue, Tom.
It's fine, mate. I'm done with my point anyway.
Okay.
Cool. Sean, I think you're up.
Yeah, so, it's good what everybody's saying. I kind of feel like I'm a broken record sometimes because when I talk about managers and clubs, first of all, yeah, you obviously from a club standpoint of view, you want the manager coming in to understand the philosophy and what and what you're expecting there at Barcelona. I think that's fair enough. But at the same time, you got to allow the manager to fulfill his vision. If Koeman is appointed, it will be because the club is happy with how he's going to fulfill the vision going forward. Does that mean like Messi, is still does he have to still build a team around Messi? Is probably one of the things that he will have to bring up at the meeting. But once again, like I say, like Tom said just a second ago there, keeping the faith. You can't just give Koeman 6 months, at Barcelona, because it has been true. Like Barcelona have been aging. The players that they've bought haven't worked out, and sometimes that happens. It's football. Sometimes it happens. Big names come to your club, and it doesn't work out. They don't quite they don't quite get it, or they're not at the potential that they could be playing at, for whatever reason that may be. Could Koeman change that? I don't doubt that he could. Maybe he'll come in and he'll get people like Griezmann playing. Have them play in the right system where someone like Griezmann could thrive. That will then allow maybe Barcelona to make room for some of the Asian players, aging players to maybe step down and find other clubs. Maybe you'll see Suarez going to China or the MLS or something like that to finish his career up there, and maybe even Messi. Who knows? I don't think they will do that. I think they will ask him to keep Messi because he is still a shirt seller, and they still make a lot of money from him. So once again, I say this about every manager, but when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stepped in, he was only there literally like a couple of months, and there was already like sack him, get rid of him, it's not good enough, and all this sort of stuff. And it's like hold on a minute, like he hasn't really done anything. He's been in charge of like 8 games or so, or whatever. So like you have to really wait and be patient a little bit and allow him to really start to talk to each individual player.
I think so, Troy. Sean, I don't disagree with you in that sense. I'm just getting much time now. So I assume in particular is with, but I think this whole thing is more from the structure of Barcelona Football Club as a whole. In that Barcelona have obviously had Valverde, they had Setien, and they've been using the same amount of these same players. A lot of whom are the average age of this Barcelona squad is 31. So if people are expecting Koeman to sort of come in and basically almost come in and do a fix-it job, as it were, to try and get something out of this aging players, to sort of, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't think it's personally fair for Ronald Koeman, because from an outsider looking in, I get the impression that Barcelona just merely wanted to kind of get players. Yeah,
but isn't sacking like because they sacked them, not just the manager, but they sacked the the executive
director of football.
Yeah, director of football as well. Yeah, that's. Yeah. I mean, isn't that telling us that they do want something different? Like they don't want that the same old. They want a complete restructuring of the club.
I don't know, because obviously the players are still there, aren't they?
They are still there. I mean, they can't sack all the managing director, the manager, and sell all the players on the same night. I think that would be like
of course not,
a little bit unachievable. But no. It does make a statement that they want change. Surely sacking the manager and the director to basically implement a complete restructuring of the system. That's got to be what they're trying to do.
I hope so, Sean. But I mean, the last time I checked, Barcelona sold sold Arthur to Juventus, who's 23, and bought Pjanic from Juventus, who's 30.
I mean, managing director and the manager on the same night, if that isn't a call for change, I don't know what is. I mean, what else could you possibly do to bring breathe a new breath of fresh air into a club? I mean, there's nothing from this moment on. Whoever it is that they get in, is surely going to have their own plan, their own vision to get them back to being that Catalan club that they once were.
Yeah. I hope that's the case. I just think my concern, is that the board are bringing Koeman in to basically make the last years of Messi's legacy good.
He won't do that, though, will he?
Thinking about I hope not.
Koeman won't agree to that. Surely not. He's a wiser manager than that.
I hope not, but I think it's like with a lot of jobs. It's like when Lopetegui obviously left the Spain job to become manager of Real Madrid. It's like being manager of Real Madrid, being manager of Barcelona is one of the greatest honors that you can have in football. And so Koeman was doing a great job with Netherlands, and Lopetegui was doing a great job with Spain national coach. And then and then they come in and they struggle because they're not backed by the hierarchy, because they're focusing on trying to make the players at those respective clubs happy. So that's my sort of thing with it. I guess what my point is that like my concern is that like Koeman potentially might not last a long time, because as you rightfully said, he's going to have his way of doing things and he's going to want to change. And the Barca players and possibly the remainder of the Barca board are going to be like, no, we brought you here to use what you have, because they're not going to be able to make big signings this season because of the pandemic situation.
Sure.
You need to now use Busquets, Vidal, Pjanic to basically go and win a Champions League title.
No, I don't think Koeman would accept that.
With this, they're not going to win a Champions League title with this squad. I think we can all agree on that, So
I don't know. I don't know if Koeman would fall to that. Like, I mean, he'd have to tell them, look, this is my plan, and if the board isn't happy with that plan, then I'll have to get somebody else. I can't see Koeman coming in going, yeah, everything you've got there is good for the next 5 years. Let's go. Like he's better than that. Surely he's he does have a bit of intelligence about him. He's one of the better managers out there, I think, Koeman. And I think that he'd have a plan. If the board's going to be happy with that plan, then he'll going to try and execute it. If the board say to him, look, listen, we want you to make the best with what we have now for the next whatever three odd years or something like that, I'm very sure Koeman's wisdom would kick in, football wisdom would kick in, and just look, listen, it's just an unrealistic target. You can see that you've had managers come in and go out of the club who have tried to do that. It's not going to work. I need to restructure the club, and that's what I mean. I think the statement of sacking the director of football and the manager on one night is a call for change. It's sure. I can't. I mean, if it's not, it's going to be one of the most deceptive sackings in football history, because that just you can't just go okay away with the old to bring in someone that's going to make the old. It doesn't fit.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope. Sure. That's the hope. Sure. That's the hope. Anyway, I'm going to quickly move on. Let me just quickly read through some of these comics. Nicosia Umbrella says, do you guys think De Jong and Griezmann were flopped this season, considering how much Barca paid for them?
I mean, they have flopped.
Yeah, no, they've not shown when Griezmann were at Atletico and De Jong was at Ajax, it was a completely different story to say them this season at Barcelona.
Georgia B says Inter is doing fine with United flops. Yes, they are. Conte seems to be working wonders with Ashley Young, Lukaku, and Sanchez, Victor Moses. But it's a coach.
Maybe buy some more.
It's maybe should get Phil Jones. Maybe he could do wonders.
Chris Smalling.
Actually, to be honest, after last night, I wouldn't actually mind Chris Smalling back at United, to be honest. So I'll keep that back to myself. Let's quickly move on. I think this is the right thing. Yes. The Premier League. And welcome, LB. Thank you for joining, LB. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
So, as everyone mostly knows, essentially there's no English club left in European football. Now, I think United obviously got the furthest. We obviously got through to the Europa League semi-final. But when you look at all the English teams, we basically had, seven English teams in both competitions this season. Okay.
Wait.
Including the Champions League and the Europa League. Okay. Spurs, Chelsea, and Liverpool don't even pass the round of 16. City obviously don't pass the quarterfinals. Arsenal, did they get Arsenal get knocked out to the round of 32 or 16? I can't remember, but they got knocked.
Yeah, they got knocked out by Olympiacos.
I think that was the round of 16 as well. Actually, Wolves obviously got knocked out in the quarterfinals by a Sevilla team. Well, they were poor in that game defensively, and obviously United also got knocked out by a Sevilla team. Given obviously the nature of the Premier League this season, with obviously Liverpool essentially running away with it by goodness knows how many points, is the Premier League and how obviously the lack of success by the Premier League this season and the success of French teams, certainly in the Champions League this season, with Lyon and obviously PSG getting to be where they are, Leipzig as a German team obviously getting to the semi-final, and obviously Inter Milan and Sevilla presumably meeting in the final now. Is the Premier League an overrated league? Has it been overhyped? And do our English teams really not that great? So I'll start with JD, who's just come back. JD, what's your thoughts?
This is a very tough one because it's kind of 50-50 to me, because when I said overrated, that doesn't mean they are not good, but they are just not good as what people strongly believe comparing to the other leagues. You understand? Yep. So that's where I have to leave it. And then I will look at something now. Look, for instance, as you said before, Manchester City went up against Lyon. Lyon could have only mustered a 7th place finish in the Farmers League as what we classed it as. You understand? But yet still, these guys didn't just went out and defeat the last year's champion and 2nd place this season. They went out and did it strategically. You understand me? They went and did exactly what they wanted to do with Manchester City. So it wasn't just a fluke. They won the game exactly what they wanted to do because they took off the pie and brought on Dembele. That's exactly what they did, and he came on and won the game for them. So it only shows you that maybe we are just overlooking other leagues and not paying it so much attention because of the TV rights and the heavy publicity from most of the games, to be fair. So I think it's overrated to a point, but not 100%, because if they do play at their best strength with the talents, I think they will always blast any team away. Pick up Liverpool last season. Liverpool had one of the worst run ever to the Champions League finals, but yet still turn up and be the winners at the end of the day with just an okay performance in 2 of the last legs, the semi-finals and the finals. So it just shows you that if they do turn up and play 70%, at point you can't keep pace with them. But how much that they actually played at 70%. And that will determine that the league is not as strong as what we naturally believe. Because if you have to play at least over 70% to win, how much game Liverpool won in the group? What? 3? Yes. 3 they won in the group last season, and then barely passed in most of the knockout rounds, just right over the line. And they had to play at 70%. But they went and played in the league this season and won the league. And I documented it. 11 games. They played under 60% of their best potential and gotten extra calls from VAR. 11 games out of 38 games. So it clearly proves that the league is not as strong as what we normally give it credit for, but definitely it's okay because we have the talents inside the league. So if they do turn up, they will blast anyone else out of the water. i.e. Lukaku, even though I know you're going to complain. If they do turn up, believe me, they're going to blast anyone out the water. But it shows you, so there's a tight line in between both.
Fair enough, Jane. I think that's a good point. Very, very good point. Shawnee, Premier League overrated. What's your thoughts?
I don't personally think so. I think maybe there's a couple of teams, potentially maybe 3 or 4 teams in the Bundesliga, that are at the standard at the height of the top 5 in the Premier League. But I don't think that it's underrated. I think it's still, we still have world-class players in our league. I think we have a really, really strong standard of football. Okay, fair enough. We haven't done well, this year in the European competitions, but it does fluctuate. Sometimes we're sort of dominant and we're sort of hanging around the Champions League and Europa spots, and we get far in those competitions for like 3 years or maybe 4 years running, and then we drop off a little bit, and then we're back at it again. I don't think it's been like a major drop off this season, rather than just a bit of a fluctuation. Sometimes we're at it, for a few years, and other times, okay, we're not at the standards that everybody holds us to. But I still think that we are at a standard where, we hold the best players in the world. We have, the most feared teams. I don't think anybody wants to challenge Liverpool in the Champions League. Everybody's like going, please, anybody but Liverpool. So, and it's the same as like the Bundesliga at the moment. I don't think, if you got your Madrids or if you got your Barcelonas or something like that, they're still feared, but not as much as what they once were. And I don't know if that's people underrating them, but definitely not as feared as what they once were. So I don't think the Premier League's overrated. I think we're at a standard now where everybody's recognizing that we do have a lot of talent. The way we play football here in the Premier League is at a massive standard. Okay, it didn't show so much this year, but I'm sure we'll be back swinging punches.
I love your statement, and hear what I have to say about that in particular. For the last 12 seasons, how many times the Premier League went in and out of the Champions League's dominance? For 6 out of these 12 years, it was Spain, and then it shifted to Germany, and then it came to England once, and then in the back leg of these 12 years, it came back to England, and then we falter this year yet again. So really and truly, that proves that the English Premier League is not as strong as what we normally portray it as.
Mm-hmm. I think, I don't know, like I say, it fluctuates. I'm not saying winning it. I'm just saying doing well in it.
Oh, okay. I speak. So
yeah, I don't think you can expect a Premiership team to win the Champions League every single season. I think that's an unrealistic target. But like,
yeah, but I respect your statement. But what I'm trying to say, I don't want to deviate from the points as well. But what I'm trying to say is,
sure,
you talked about Liverpool is powerful and everything. Look, did you know that Liverpool are the one of the worst Champions League run in order to win it?
Yeah, it's true, but we did get to the final though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So that doesn't prove that the Champions League is much stronger than the Premier League. And we are not.
It does prove that we're getting there. It's not like another Spanish team made it to the final. It was an English team that made it to the final. It's an English team that's getting into the quarters.
Okay.
We are making it to these places. I'm not saying that we're winning it every season, but in terms of, are we overrated? Is the Premier League overrated? No, we're still challenging. If I'd be really concerned if we can't make it out of the group stages. Yeah.
Okay.
I think at that stage I would put my hands up and I would go, okay, there's something not right here. We're not able to compete with the rest of Europe. And we have to do something about it. We have to get some quality players in, quality teams, build stronger teams, get some decent managers in, But that's not happening. We are challenging. We are always hovering around the quarters, if not the finals. You know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's it. So I completely understand you. Like I don't mind saying, and I don't mind admitting that. Okay, fair enough. We haven't had many of the English teams winning it, but we have been hovering around at least in the quarters almost consistently for a long time now. So we have had teams representing at a high level in the Champions League. Don't forget, it's a very, very, coming from a Liverpool fan, by the way, it's a very, very difficult competition to win. You know, it's really, really tough. And you're meeting the elite group, the elite clubs and the elite players in the world in these competitions, you know. So yeah, quite rightly, as you say. Okay, fair enough. In terms of winning it, maybe not the best record, but we're there. We're challenging. You know, if we couldn't make it out the group stages, I'd like to say, yeah, we are overrated. You know, we need to do much better. But we are part of that elite race in the footballing world, where generally I don't think Lyon was like, nice, brilliant, well done, we got City. That's
No.
They were like, damn, we got City. Oh my days, you know, they were second in the Premier League. This is going to be tough, boys. You know, we're going to have to put on a really good performance, and boy, did they put on a good performance.
Yes. Someone here asking, is this a yard man? I think he's assuming that I am a Jamaican. Yes, I am a Jamaican, but I do live in Belgium now. Yes, and I don't support Arsenal. I actually support Manchester City in England and Ajax over here because I am close by Ajax. You understand? So, but I do watch Arsenal for a long while because at that time when I was actually in Jamaica, I normally played football at the highest level in Jamaica also, and Thierry Henry was my football at that time. So definitely I was watching Arsenal at that time, but it wasn't my club. It's just the player I supported because I played similar to him. That's why. Yeah.
Thanks for addressing that, JD. So I appreciate that, buddy. Georgia B says can't judge an entire league by the few teams at the top, which I think is fair enough. Although Iliad obviously says Premier League is the best in the world. I don't care what people think of.
It's at least productive to debate it a little bit.
Who hasn't spoken yet? LB, obviously, if you just come in, LB, do you think the Premier League is overrated?
Look, as a league on its own, I wouldn't say it's overrated in the sense that, you know, apart from, let's just say, the last maybe few seasons when Man City and obviously this season Liverpool having won the league, there've been, you know, a lot of surprise factors. Obviously in 2015-16 when Leicester City won the league, no one saw that coming, and you know, that was great for not just for the Premier League but for football to show that, you know, a team of Leicester's sort of caliber were able to you know, convincingly at the end of the day win the Premier League. And I think, you know, if we sort of compare the Premier League to a lot of other leagues around the world, like the La Liga and the Bundesliga and the Serie A and the French league, where, you know, you can almost anticipate who's going to win that season every single league every single season. No, I don't think it's an overrated sort of league. I think it's the most exciting league. With that being said, I reckon a lot of the other leagues around the world are also underrated, and all the glamour has been put onto the Premier League as well. But also when it comes to the Premier League teams, I know a couple of the guys were talking about, you know, Liverpool and Man City in the Champions League. I mean, over the last 10 years, how many Premier League sides have won the actual the Champions League? I think it's only been two, Chelsea and Liverpool. Yeah, last season. So I think, you know, outside of the Premier League, there's really strong sort of competition, and there are a lot of strong teams outside of the Premier League as well. So No, I wouldn't say it's overrated. I think it's the most even, most exciting league. However, as I said before, with that being said, I reckon a lot of the other leagues around the world are underrated as well. So yeah, it's just my 2 cents.
Before I finish, get to Tom. George B actually has a speculative question. How many UCLs would Manchester United have won if Ronaldo had stayed there?
I would say maybe maximum 2, because you have to understand, as you said before, or as of the panel overall talked about, that basically that you have 2 eras since Ronaldo left, the Chelsea era and then the Manchester City era. You understand? And they were so dominant in those times. I don't believe just Ronaldo and United would have actually overshadowed them. I just believe that. So I don't think more than 2. Yeah, him leaving to Spain would actually help him, because he wouldn't have to face not so much of the same individuals to drain him in the league. Because I do believe that's why I said the Premier League is not so much overrated. It's 50-50, because it's harder to win the Champions League because you have to feel so much of your top stars them for most games. So their legs are actually gone before they can actually face a team in the Champions League. So that's why I'm saying it's much more easier for him to go to Spain. He can get much more rest and be better equipped to face his competition. So I think leaving to Spain let him be much better.
Fair enough. Tom, final thoughts, because and just keep it to about, if that's okay, to 5 minutes, just because we just have to go do our Champions League preview. And I'll let you start with that, because obviously we won't have a lot of time for this one. But is the Premier League overrated?
Personally, I wouldn't say so, because obviously in the last 2 years, Liverpool have got to the Champions League final. You know, I think people suddenly forget about last season. A lot of people just debate on, with just the Champions League. There is still the Europa League at the end of the day. The last 2 seasons of the Europa League, the following 2 seasons, obviously Arsenal and Chelsea got to the final last season, and Tottenham and Liverpool got to the Champions League final. So four English clubs out of a possible 7? Did you say into all competitions in the year? I don't think that's really bad for a league that's supposedly underrated.
I really love these guys' point, but what I want to ask you, bro, so why is it, if the Premier League is look, every single season, Jurgen Klopp got success since he has came to England. He had to prioritize a competition, and that's why people don't give Liverpool's current squad as great teams, because all the previous great teams, Chelsea, Man United, treble, and Manchester City, they all went for every single competition. So because Liverpool's squad is very thin past the starting 11, they had to prioritize competitions. So that doesn't tell you that the Premier League is maybe a little bit overrated, just a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't go to as far as to say it's overrated. I would maybe go as far to probably say it's like a little bit, maybe over the line, should we say, a bit over the top. But I wouldn't say that, because obviously, in England you can win 2, cups in England. You can win the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, the Premier League, and then if you're in a European competition. So all the top teams in England have the possibility of winning 4 competitions, even if you're not in a European competition, even if you're in League 2, you've still got the opportunity, or even in the National League, you've still got the opportunity of winning at least 2, trophies, because obviously you can get promoted from your league, or you can win the FA Cup or Carabao Cup if you get as far as that. So I wouldn't go as far as to say it's overrated, but I think it's up there in the top 3. I'd put it in the top 3 bracket. I'd probably put
exactly where I would put
the English league there. I'd put the German league there for me. And I'd probably put the Spanish league there, because they've got 2 teams that dominate the league. Like in Italy, has there really been 2 teams that dominated that league for the past decade? No, it's just been Juventus. Same with the French league. No, it's just been PSG. And these are the top 5 major leagues, and that's why I would categorize the 3 leagues
I
as
agree
being the
with
top
that
3.
Yes, I agree with it 100%.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's it. That's it, G.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I think it's obviously one to review, and I think I generally agree with what everyone says. I think the only thing I would say is that I think one of the big reasons why the Premier League is often seen as being overrated is because of the sheer amount of money that's involved, and because so many players are worth maybe local players, and maybe that inflates the price. But very very often you'll see players that are that are getting hundreds of £1,000s a week that are worth 50, 60, 80 sorts of £1 million, and then in sort of other respective leagues, so not are worth nowhere near as much as that. If that makes any sense. So I think the money that's in the Premier League is probably one of the reasons why it's seen as being an overrated league, because the comparison of other leagues might not be the same. So, but anyway,
that's to keep the talent here, though. That's to keep the talent that we have in this country, in this league. So that it's testament to us that we do have quality players that we want to stay in this league. And even though I don't completely agree with paying them that amount of money, it's still
that's what you've got to pay to get these players sometimes.
That's it.
But I guess from a quality point of view, if you're paying that amount of money, and then for a certain player, but then other leagues are getting, so a good example would be, Alfonso, the Bayern left back Alfonso Davies. He cost nothing to come from Canada and now he's arguably the best left back, in the world.
Steady on now.
Possibly, possibly,
he's like top 2.
Possibly, but see, how much do he cost? So I guess my point is just that, price does not necessarily equate to quality. Like Chelsea now are going to spend 60, 70 million possibly on Ben Chilwell, and I like Ben Chilwell, but I don't think he's as good as Alfonso Davies. And so I guess
he's not worth the price tag.
Yeah, as I guess what I'm saying is, is the Premier League and why this is overrated a danger where, because we're spending all this amount of money, we're automatically thinking, well, of course these teams are good because he's a £70 million player. But actually the quality of that player, is it actually 70 million? Well, no, it's not. If anything, it's probably worse. And that's why I feel that maybe the Premier League is suffering as a result, is that we're playing over-inflated prices for players that are not necessarily. Harry Maguire, £80 million. I'm a United fan. Upamecano is not, who's at RB Leipzig, is probably just as good and is worth half of that. So that's my thing, So, but we'll quickly move on because we're on time. And Tom, I want you to start with this topic. Champions League preview, Champions League semi-final preview. Obviously, it's Lyon versus Bayern and PSG versus Leipzig, and what has been a very, very entertaining Champions League. Full of the Champions League doesn't fail to the point with various surprises. I think, obviously, I think a lot of people may have thought that Bayern was going to beat Barca, but not in that way. But certainly, I don't think anyone thought Lyon beating City. So, bearing in mind, obviously, the semi-finals, I'm going to go around with everyone, and I want everyone to just give a score prediction and just a briefing on why. And I'll start with Tom, obviously. Tom, semi-final predictions. Who wins? Score prediction and why?
Which game do you want me to start off with?
So start off with be Bayern Munich versus Lyon.
I'm gonna go for Bayern Munich. I've said it for a long time. I said it even before the restart. Really, the game that really topped it off for me was the final group game for Bayern Munich. For me, that made me select Bayern Munich. I know I did say Atletico Madrid possibly, but they've not had an amazing run in from the restart. But I thought Bayern Munich have been, for me, the most consistent team in Europe since the restart. I can't think of a team that's scored as many goals as them and has been as dominant in controlling a game, because they're like a hound of dogs. You just pulled off the leash and they just attack you. It's as simple as that. And it's, for me, I will go as far as to say I think it's one of the most organised teams I've seen in this decade, in the upcoming decade. This team will be remembered for years to come. And the reason why I've said that is it's so organised. Like you've just said about such as Alphonso Davies and Kimmich. They're two players that, they're not old, but they know their position. You don't have to have the best players in the world to win things. So long as they know the basics of, right, I know what I need to do as a right back, in the modern game. We're not, 20 years behind now. We're, the game's developing, it's getting more intense, and you've got to develop your game more to suit specific teams and stuff that you might join. But I think they've got the mix right, and I've talked about this for a long time. About a mix of experience and youth. Bayern Munich have got it in abundance. Experience. You talk about experienced players: Lewandowski, Muller. Neuer. Boateng. These players. Alba, and then they've got young players such as Gnabry, Kimmich. You've got to think Sane's not that old, who's going to be coming into this team. So they've got the whole mix correct. And this is the sort of thing that Barcelona need to get right. They've got all these experienced players. They've got a couple of youth players. They don't play them. They don't mix it. And this is the problem. You need to have the right mix. I think Lyon, credit to them. For me, I think they've been, definitely the surprise package this season. Nobody would have expected them to get past Juventus, let alone even Manchester City. So I think credit to them. But I think it's a big, big ask. Way bigger than even if you put Juventus and Man City together. I think it's way bigger than, those two games to get past Bayern Munich for me. And I just think it's written on the cards for Bayern Munich to do it. I might be proven wrong. Lyon might come out with some masterclass like they did against Man City or anything. But, I can't see any team stopping this Bayern Munich team, even Leipzig or PSG. PSG will have a good go, probably. But it's a big ask. Obviously, moving on to...
Leipzig played Bayern Munich twice this season, and Bayern Munich couldn't do anything with them, So I think you should not just write off Leipzig facing Bayern Munich. If they went on to the final, Bayern Munich will steamroll them because they really struggle against Leipzig.
I'm not saying that they're not going to steamroll them. I'm saying it would be a good game, obviously.
Yes.
I think any of the games, any team that gets to the final, if it's Lyon and Leipzig, surprisingly, it's still going to be a good game to watch. And obviously, with it being a weird season, with obviously the pandemic and everything happening, and a lot of weird results happening recently with such as Lyon and everything, wouldn't surprise me if someone like Lyon or Leipzig won the whole thing, because it's a weird year. But no, just moving on to the next talk, because obviously there's a lot of people that need to talk and everything. Leipzig, PSG. I said it on Nick's show. I just think it's got an upset written all over it for me. And I said it, I think it's just got that fairy tale story, to be honest, with Leipzig. The club that's been in existence, 11 years? They've got probably one of the youngest manager in the history to get to a semi-final of the Champions League. Some of the players are even older than him. Such as Messi and Ronaldo are older than him, and he's the coach. But for him to be that young of an age and have the respect and the trust of them players, that shows something, because people start to take advantage of people who are maybe younger because they haven't got the authority, they haven't got the experience. But clearly he's respected enough. And I look at, say, PSG, I think, personally, PSG, Neymar puts a couple of them chances to bed. They steamroll Atalanta, but defensively, mate, they're not there. Let's be real, they're not there for me. I think possibly play a counter attack against them. I think they'll buckle. Juan Bernat's not the best tracking back. A marking player, should we say? Kimpembe's got legs, but whether he'd be able to catch, players and stop creative players like Sabitzer, that's another story. Marquinhos probably going to be played in midfield rather than in defence where he needs to be. And, I just think that it spells disaster at the back for them by the goalkeeper. And I think they did ride the luck a little bit with the goalkeeper against Atalanta. I think more of an overall team, like I've said about Bayern Munich, would punish PSG because they've got good players all over the field. Leipzig have good players all over the field. But I think it's a good matchup. But I'll just go on to a couple of score predictions. Bayern Munich, Lyon, I'm going to go for I'm not going to go for something like an 8-2 because I don't think they'll get that embarrassed. I'll go for a 4-1. I think Lyon will get a goal. Leipzig, PSG, 2-1 Leipzig.
2-1 Leipzig. Okay, fair enough.
Great. Thank you, bro.
Before I get into some of the comments, so King J10 says I agree with IMAX. I assume it's you, JD. In relation to Leipzig. Georgia B says PSG are bottlers. Well, so you're not wrong, but if Neymar and Mbappe are playing, it's I think the first time that Neymar and Mbappe are going to be playing together. So you never know. You never know. Maybe this might be their year. Adachi Raj, it says if Leipzig wins somehow, then Werner will receive his medal.
Yes, because he played enough games for the team. That's how it goes.
He would actually. He would. He actually would. So yeah. Despite the fact
I don't think he'd be deserved of it because he's just ditched the team pretty much midway through the season.
Exactly.
I think I'd give him like a fake one. I won't give him the real thing.
But he got them through the group stages, So
give it to that Adams who got him through. Give it to him. He deserves it more than Julian Werner. Abandoned him midway through.
It is strange. It is strange that has to be the case, but it just seems to be. It is what it is. That just seems to be. Like I was reading somewhere that like if Coutinho wins the CL with Bayern,
yes,
Liverpool
like 5 million. Yes, that's true. Yes.
Because like in his clause that he'll get the extra money if he wins the CL.
What kind of dumb deal have Barcelona signed? You loan out a player to let him beat you, and then you pay him 5 million to pay his previous owner 5 million. Wow.
Who's buddy? That's why I told you Barcelona crisis, man. Who does this? This thing? You know what I mean? And then Liverpool could use that money to go towards getting Thiago.
Yes.
So there you go. It all works.
Cycle of life.
It's funny. It really is funny. Ilya United says Arsenal versus Wigan final. I'm not sure what you're watching, Ilya. So I get that. I completely understand. Oh, Tom, take care of yourself, buddy. Take care of it. All the best, Tom. All the best.
Okay, buddy.
Elias of Benens, thank you for joining in. Buddy says, what do you guys think about Kevin De Bruyne? Just quick comment on that question. Anybody?
Yeah, I think he's a quality player. I just think that he didn't put on a good show because Lyon put out that extra centre back. I think it was just tactically good by Lyon, I think, and it didn't make De Bruyne look good on the day because he couldn't do his normal, the link-up play that he normally has with Walker to get his crosses in and to get his assists were kind of blocked, and he looked like a little bit distant from the team in that Lyon game. Nothing taken away from him though. He is still a world-class player.
Sir Elliot, that's my God. KDB played brilliant. He did exactly what he had to do. It's just poor Mr. Sterling didn't make him get at least a 9.5% because he had a 7.9 on all ratings. He did what he had to do. He was the third best player on the park behind Dembele and the keeper for Lyon. So he did what he had to do in a poor team on the night. So you can't say much. He's the third best player in the world this season behind Lewandowski. That's on stats. I'm just talking. And Messi, because Messi had a lot of stats. Maybe he didn't do what he had to do in the Champions League, but he had enough stats to put him at second behind Lewandowski.
Fair enough. Telber says, I really want Bayern to win the UCL because Lewandowski in 5 million for Liverpool. And Alaj Raj says, when Eden Hazard won Liga, then Chelsea seed around 50 million. I read that somewhere. That probably does make a lot of sense. And King JJ 10 says, does Barcelona need an election now or March? I assume you're meaning the presidential election because what's his name? Josep, I've forgotten his surname. It's obviously still the president. A quick answer to your question before we get into the other predictions by Shawnee and LB is no, simply because it's going to be free. It's only 3 weeks till the beginning of the season, and I'm not sure that you need this instability going into the next season where you now need to get another president who might not necessarily agree with the coach that they've got in and the sporting director and so on. So I think March is reasonable. That's what I would say. LB, your score predictions for this Champions League semi-final.
For the Bayern Olympiacos game, as the guys were saying, Bayern's been the informed side of the competition since the season's resumed, and they've just gone from strength to strength over the last few weeks. Obviously, having won the Bundesliga, I think the 8th or 9th time in a row now, and I think they are really hungry for that Champions League. And for a side like Bayern Munich, who's only won one Champions League in the last decade, they've really sort of underachieved. So I think honestly, it's now their time to at least get into a final. They've made a number of semi-finals over the last 10 seasons, but haven't been able to go sort of beyond that, with an exception to 2013. So I think they will beat Olympiacos. I don't think it'll be a walk in the park like the game against Barcelona. I think Olympiacos will put up a really good fight, but I think at the end of the day, Bayern Munich will have just too much quality against them, and I think they'll continue their really good run of form. So score prediction, I'm going to say 3-1 to Bayern Munich. As for the other game, I know Tom was saying that he smells a bit of an upset here, an upset sort of brewing, and look, I probably agree with him in that sense because if we look at PSG's game against Atalanta, really if Neymar did finish those chances, it probably would have been a different story. But at the end of the day, they really had to work hard for their victory, and 2 goals in the last 5 minutes of the game doesn't really sort of it doesn't cut it in terms of being able to win convincingly, in which everyone thought that would happen. PSG would beat Atalanta convincingly, and to Atalanta's credit, they put up a really good fight. But in terms of RB Leipzig, obviously they're a different kettle of fish, having beaten Atletico Madrid. So I think, I'm very tempted to say an upset's going to happen. I do personally want a PSG Bayern Munich final because I think that'll be a phenomenal game, but I think an upset is going to happen. I think Leipzig are going to beat PSG 2-1.
Okay, fair enough. Before I go to Sean, just quickly thinking about the comments. Ilya says, I want Leipzig to win a Champions League. Come on, I would like Leipzig to win a Champions League too, because I really do respect Nagelsmann as a coach. I think he's done a fantastic job, and he could potentially be the future Klopp, to be honest. Our Barca signing the manager this week. I think it's going to be announced not that soon from now, to be honest. Telber says Bayern 2-0 to Lyon 0, PSG 1, Leipzig 2. Final Bayern Leipzig, Bayern 2, Leipzig 0. That's interesting. A lot of people are not giving PSG any hope here, which is interesting in the comments. And I don't know. I just think that if you're gonna play, if Mbappe and Neymar, if Mbappe and Neymar on the same field can't beat Leipzig, then I think serious questions have to be asked about PSG. Irrespective of where they are. Andres Raj says last season the finals usually were played between English teams, but this English team in the semi-finals. Well, to be fair, there was an English team in the semi-finals of the Europa League this season, and obviously they were in the semi-finals. And even in last season, who was it? Spurs were in the semi-finals, as well Liverpool. And I think, well, anyway, long story short of it, Manchester United won the semi-finals Europa League this season, so it's not completely. But I see your point. Shawnee, last one. What's your predictions for this Champions League semi-final?
Yep. I think I've said for a while now that Bayern Munich have been, in my opinion, favourites to go on and win it anyway. So I don't think I'll go against the grain on the Munich Lyon score, and I'll just say it's going to be a 3-1. Just keep it nice and simple, because I don't really have too much to say about that game. I will probably go against the grain a little bit with Leipzig Paris. I think Paris versus Leipzig, like you say, if Mbappe and Neymar turn up, Neymar isn't going to continue to miss. He has more quality in him than that. I prefer Leipzig to go through. I would also like to see that happen. Like, I don't think Nagelsmann is kind of like a people's person. Like, everybody generally quite likes him. He's a down to earth character that everyone really likes. And to get to a Champions League final would just be a massive achievement in his life, and really catapult him into the limelight as a quality manager. So I would like to see that. I personally don't think so. I think Paris. By the way, I've been saying this about Paris all right the way through, all the way into now. I've just been saying that, more than likely they'll just get through. And it's always been me that goes against the grain, because generally on this podcast, there's a lot of people that think Paris are frauds. Not so much for me. I still think that there's quality in Paris Saint-Germain. I think they'll have enough to trouble Leipzig, and that they'll go through 2-1.
Fair enough, Sean. Fair enough. Last comments before we round things up. Telber again says, I don't think that Lyon will beat Bayern. Bayern has 9 games and 9 wins. It's fair enough. But don't underestimate their coach, I guess. I mean, to be fair to Lyon beat Juventus and Man City. So, they've shown they can beat the big teams. I'm not saying they will, but they seem to have a plan for the occasion. They've beaten Juventus, winners of Serie A, and they've beaten Man City, who obviously are strong teams. So there you go. Telba does say, mine says PSG, Hart says Leipzig. And Adaj Raj says, which team do you want to win the UCL? We will discuss that on the. I think we'll discuss that on our preview show this week. So I think the Champions League final is actually next weekend, isn't it? Or is it this week? I think it's next weekend, isn't it? I think
it's next weekend.
I think it's next weekend. Yeah. Yes. So we will have a preview show. We will discuss that obviously following the semi-finals. Anyway, guys, it's really been good. Thank you so much for everyone that's obviously been getting involved in the comments. Really, really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you guys so much for obviously being on. Shawnee, LB, JD, Offside, Josh, and everyone that was involved in the panel. Really, really enjoy obviously the show. Really, really good topics. Thanks, everyone. Remember, if you're new to the channel, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Please check out JD's channel as well, IMAX Football. Please, the link will be in description. And also, please check out Shawnee's gaming channel as well. Link will be in the description as well, guys. Please head over to those channels and support these guys. They do a lot of very good content, and their support would be very much appreciated. So please head over to IMAX It, and Shawnee's channels. The links will be in the description. Please check those guys out. Have a nice day, guys, and cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.